I was married when my heart fell for a 10-year-old boy. I knew that there was a big age difference between me and him. I brought him into the room. At that time, I was wearing a thin suit that was almost impossible. My white body was clearly visible. I closed the door to the room. The boy was as tall as my leg. He was such a small child. I mustered up the courage and made him sit on the bed. I sat at his feet. I pulled down his pajamas and put my face forward and looked at the 10-year-old boy. Afzal was my brother-in-law. Why would he get me divorced? But my husband started saying that he had told him all these things, and now my husband went and said these words to me, and I was in a state of tears. I also camped on the same spot. I said that you should leave this house. You have given the divorce, it is also your mistake. My husband did not have any objection to this. He said that Jabin, don't worry, we will find some solution to this matter. How can a relationship of years like this not break in a moment? My husband was still in a state of happiness, but I knew that we would have to go through a difficult phase now. We would have to live apart from each other for the rest of our lives. This thought was gnawing at me. Obviously, now living together would be considered a sin. Then my husband said something strange and said that I will not leave your brother alive in this world. He has broken this marriage. Earlier, if it had happened, I would have stopped my husband, but now he was not my husband-in-law. I would have let him go. What does the bitch say? I just said that if you go, he will come to know about our divorce. I will call him and ask him. I will see why Afzal has such thoughts about me. What have I done to him? Then I called Afzal. I asked him on my mobile, why did you talk such nonsense about me? I was surprised when Afzal laughed and said, my sister, I am not talking nonsense. I am telling the truth. And anyway, your husband is not worthy of you. If he leaves you on this basis, then you do not need to worry at all. This poor man has others. Will he leave you too? Will he have any other children? I was very sorry for this vile thought of my brother. But I knew that now if I had any discussion, he would inevitably create a problem with me. So I kept quiet and hung up the phone. I said, please leave me in a safe place, so that I can spend the rest of my life in peace. I don't want to be a burden on my family, but my husband told me that you should spend just one night in this house. I will sleep in another room. I won't even come near you. But don't say that. You will go to Dar ul Aman. Your family will find out. Then the rumor of divorce will spread and we will be infamous in the whole family. I obeyed my husband and didn't sleep until morning. I felt strangely restless and had tears in my eyes. It seemed that now I was left alone in the whole world. I was also missing my family a lot, but I didn't want to go home and disturb them. In the morning, at dawn, there was a knock on my room door. I saw my husband standing outside. I didn't open the door. He said that I am bringing a cleric for you. He will talk to you, explain to you and talk to both of us. I have spoken to a friend of mine. He is saying that if you talk to the cleric about this issue, he will not hurt you. I will tell you a solution. I forbade my husband from bringing Maulvi Sahib home. After the Fajr prayer, we both will go to Maulvi Sahib. So we did that. When we reached Maulvi Sahib, I had a little hope in my heart. But as soon as we entered the mosque, I felt very strange to see that there were many men there. I covered myself with hijab and niqab and traveled to Maulvi Sahib's room. Then I entered. He made us sit down with love, and then what he started explaining to me tore my heart. He said, daughter, now your husband is forbidden to you forever. but if you still want to take any path back, then he is a halala. The way halala is being presented these days is no joke. There is a punishment for the man, and the second is that there are some rules and regulations for it too. Islam does not allow a halala to remarry after divorce. Rather, if all these incidents happen by chance, then after divorce, that woman would have been halala again for her first husband. I never tell any couple to pay a woman for a halala because divorce is an act that Allah does not like. Whatever it is, divorce is the only thing that will happen after divorce. You do not know that. Therefore, I will advise both of you to follow the path of Sharia and separate your paths. Children, you too can get married again. And son, if you say, "Make me your guardian," I will find a conscious man for you myself. No, Allama Sahib, this cannot happen. I cannot even think of anyone else, and my family does not know about this whole matter. The family does not know. Divorce and marriage cannot remain a secret. Son, what kind of things do you people talk about? These are contrary to the rules. Doing this will bring unease in both of your lives. Allama Sahib was talking about this, but both my husband and I were very worried. Our peace of mind had been further destroyed. Divorce is truly a great curse that makes a person alienated from each other in an instant. Well, we got up and came home from there. I did not say anything more. No, my husband kept talking to Allama Sahib behind my back, but when I reached home, my face was covered in tears. I couldn't even imagine any other man. I had dreamed of my husband all my life, and when I got my husband, I served him well, but I don't know why, I got divorced because of my own brother. I couldn't understand anything in my mind. Then there was a knock on the door of the house. I opened the door and my husband was standing outside, but to my surprise, there was no end to my surprise. Now my husband had a big smile on his face. He seemed happy. I was very surprised. I asked him, "Alim, what's the matter, Alim? When you left, you were very worried. You were still worried at that time, but now you seem very happy." After listening to me, he said, "It's just that you can't be happy." I thought that maybe Alim has found a woman for his second marriage. Alim said, "You cook a good meal. I will bring bread from the market. After that I will tell you what actually happened, and listen to me. You can go in front of other non-Mahrams. You can talk. You can come in front of me too. I will not have anything to do with you, but for God's sake, end this secretive affair like this." My husband's words had given me great courage. His mind had also become clear. Seeing him, half of my worries were gone. I made a kadai. My husband came with rotis. We ate the food together. He told me that this matter is not as difficult as the one we ate in Banner. I have talked to another mufti who is near our house. This is the Mufti Sahib from afar, to whom I had gone. Afzal Bhai had once told me about this Maulvi, and even today he was praising him a lot. He was saying that if I come to you, I will pray with Allama Sahib. It has been a long time. Then I remembered from his words that yes, we also have our own mosque here. So I went to his Maulvi Sahib. He told me that the only way to return to my wife after divorce is halala. But the biggest problem with halala is that no man divorces his wife, especially when they trust someone and hand over their wife to someone else. Then people change after marriage. Men have this mentality that they will not let go of a woman if they are seduced by one woman. Therefore, if there is a very trustworthy person, you can trust him and give your wife in marriage. Then after a few months, you can get a divorce and remarry. I said, You are absolutely right. But where can you find such a trustworthy man who will divorce you immediately? Yes, it is difficult to find someone who is trustworthy, but I have found him. Just don't worry about him. Leave everything to me. You must have seen this person too, but I don't know. I know him and I know him very well. He has a very kind heart, but sometimes his tongue becomes bitter. If you marry him, I have no objection. My mind will remain exactly the same as before because he is so young that I don't even worry that he can compete with me. Rather, I will just seduce you with him. I will understand that I got you married to my son. My husband laughed. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? I can't even think about another man. My dear, until you do this, we can't even get married. And think about it, your family won't stay away from you for that long. I think if not today, then tomorrow they will have to tell them this. No, no, I will not tell them this. I stood by my word. I said that we will take a rented house and live in this house. My second marriage will also take place there. You will tell everyone that we are going to Karachi for some time. Then no one will even ask us. Anyway, Mom and Dad are busy with their own work. They have jobs. Do they know what is going on in our lives here? My husband agreed to this, but I didn't know that my life would become a nightmare. However, after much hesitation, it was decided that on Friday Mir Enka Afzal will marry a man, but in the same way he will forget me and I will remember him for the rest of my life. But you also know that this is not possible in the relationship between husband and wife. Fortunately, my husband would not allow me to see his face, nor would he. He made me wear a mask and told me that you also have to keep your face covered. I felt like crying at these words of my husband. If he was so jealous, why did I divorce him? I had cursed him in my heart. However, at the time of marriage, I also made Maulvi Sahib my guardian and then I was married. But since this Maulvi Sahib was not a complete marriage priest and did not even have a government official register, our marriage was simply fixed in the mosque in the presence of 2 to 4 witnesses. My marriage was not registered in Nadra nor was it written on paper. Acceptance and acceptance were made and the sermon was read. Thus I became the wife of a man whom I did not even know. I do not know what his name was. I was taken to this rented house. My husband dropped me off. The man was also sitting in the car with me, but he wasn't a man. When I looked at him carefully, he was as tall as my leg and looked like a very small child. This started to worry me. I wondered if my husband had married a 10-year-old child, but he wasn't even an adult. I saw him sitting in the car with great seriousness. There was no expression on his face. His face was completely expressionless. I don't know how I reached home. I was lost in unknown thoughts. It felt like I was in a scorching desert. I had never felt so anxious in my life before today. I kept looking at this man's face. I didn't want to blush or smile at all because she was a woman. She does all this when there is a man of her choice in front of her. I was sitting in front of this child. I felt like his mother. I never thought that I would marry a person who comes up to my knees. Well, when we are new people, when we reached the house, which was a rented house, I was the first to enter and sit on the bed. It was not my first marriage, but when the room was being decorated, there was a bed and a sofa in the room. My heart was trembling badly. Then when that man entered my room, his rich gaze fell on him again. He removed the mask from his face and looked at me. The ground gave way from under my feet. Oh God, what am I seeing? My heart said. Tears started flowing from my eyes. This matter will spread throughout the neighborhood because it was something like this. I looked at him in the face and then I understood that I will have no respect in society. I don't know what people will think of me. Thousands of thoughts were in my mind. Then he came and sat in front of me. His face was full of malice. He looked at me and said, "My Nightingale, you are very beautiful." I used to think that Aleem is so stubborn for no reason, but in reality, he is allowed to be stubborn. I thought that my husband had married me to a 10-year-old child. But the man sitting in front of me did not look 10 years old. He seemed to be a mature man of 35 or 35. He said, "I will tell you a story. After that, you will see. But first, you will have to surrender yourself." I found his words poisonous, but that was the purpose of this marriage. The revelation he made to me the next morning was very surprising. "Forgive me, Nightingale, but marrying you was my dream," he said, showing his first teeth with great boldness. "Hey, I have also gotten you divorced. I liked you from the beginning. There is no one ahead of me or behind me. My parents are no longer in this world. I am alone. There is no one to cry behind me. But there is one thing I really dislike, and that is arrogance. Your husband was also very arrogant. One day, in the shop, he teased me and said, 'You are so young that your wife will make you sit at her feet. You will appear to be her son in front of her.' I felt very bad about what Aleem said. I did not joke with him. 'Do you know that your wife is the one who made me her own?' He slapped me so hard that I have not forgotten it to this day. On that day, I decided that I would marry Aleem's wife. This may seem strange, but I always do what I set my mind to. I felt so bad about this man that I picked up a flower pot and threw it at his head. He died in front of me in agony. I was not afraid at all of what I had done because this man's words had touched my heart and torn my soul. The reason why a police case was not filed against me was because our marriage was not registered. When the police came, they thought that this man had come here to attack my honor, so I hit him with the flower pot. When my first husband Aleem came to know about this, he was very surprised. He also did not reveal the matter to anyone that we had divorced. Thus, I lost my life to this man and Mir Allah also died. But believe me, I did not kill this person with the intention of killing Gulden. It was an act of anger, the consequences of which I did not even think about. Now tell me, did I do right or wrong? Do I have to be an infidel? What is my punishment? I am very anxious. I am getting married again to Aleem next week. I will be waiting for your answer.